People get really stressed about crowds at Disney World, and I may be to blame. Partially. Over the past few months, I've been sharing videos on the times when the parks are the least and the most crowded based on historical trends. I think it's great to know which week or day to pick if you have some flexibility in your travel planning. But inevitably, I get comments from people panicking, saying, "Oh no, you said not to go on Monday, and that's the only day I can go." Let's face it, not everyone can go to Disney World when it's the optimal time. Between school schedules and work, maybe the only time you can go is over a holiday weekend or on Thanksgiving. And you were really excited about this vacation until some nerd showed up in your feed and kicked your metaphorical puppy with crowd data. Disney World is supposed to be fun, but lines and crowds aren't fun. A 2-hour wait is not magical. So what do you do if you go to Disney World when it's crowded? Hi, I'm James from Guide to WDW, and I'm here to tell you that it's still totally possible to have an amazing time even when there are peak crowds. Earlier in 2023, I went one of the busiest times of the year. It was spring break and Tron had just opened. The parks were swamped, but I had a great time and still didn't wait in that many lines. Take it from me, that is crucial if you're traveling with a toddler. In this video, I'm sharing 8 trusted techniques to help you beat the crowds and make the most of your trip. This includes ways to dodge the biggest crowds of the day, avoid long lines for food, and find a line that's shorter for free. Yes, it is possible. Even if you're visiting during a slower time of year, there's still a lot of advice in here that you can use. So let's dive in. The first tip is one of my guiding principles to visiting Disney, the early late rule. It's a way to structure your day so that you hit up the most popular attractions when the lines are lowest. While it may be tempting to sleep in and start your day later, you are on vacation after all, it's actually best to be an early riser at Disney. Wait times always peak in the middle of the day, but they are much lower the 2 hours after opening and the 2 hours before closing. That's especially true at Magic Kingdom, as many guests typically leave right after the fireworks, even if the park is still open for a couple hours after that. So the early late rule is this: try to go on the biggest rides like Rise of the Resistance or Flight of Passage during the first 2 or last 2 operating hours of the day. You can even jump in the line 1 minute before park closing and still get to go on the ride, usually with a pretty short wait. If you have access to early morning entry or extended evening hours, that's even better. But what should you do in the middle of the day? We now know that wait times are highest in the afternoon. This is especially true of big rides like Ratatouille or Slinky Dog Dash. Wait times can get ridiculously long for the biggest and splashiest rides. So in the late morning and afternoon, try to hit up some of the more minor rides with shorter wait times. Disney World is filled with often overlooked gems like Carousel of Progress, Living with the Land, American Adventure, and Muppet Vision 3D. Just because something has a short wait doesn't mean that it's not worth going on. An easy way to do this is to use the My Disney Experience app to pull up the current wait times on your phone and pick out the rides with the lowest waits. Here's another option for something to do in the middle of the day. Prioritize experiences that are less wait dependent. Not everything at Disney World has a line. For example, you could do a scavenger hunt like the DuckTales World Showcase Adventure at Epcot, or the Wilderness Explorers at Animal Kingdom. Both of these experiences offer fun, interactive elements that allow you to explore the park at your own pace without having to wait in line. Additionally, you could walk through an exhibit or a playground, such as the Sea Base Aquarium or Tom Sawyer's Island in Magic Kingdom. These activities are especially great for families with small children, as it can keep everyone entertained for a long time without a wait. Epcot's new walk-through Moana attraction just opened and it's already operating with no wait. So if that trend continues, you can add that to this list too. Another experience that is less wait dependent is eating. Book your dining reservations for times when the rides have their peak wait times, such as having an early dinner in the late afternoon. That way you can enjoy your meal and a much needed break from the crowds. Number 4, make dining reservations as early as you can. Speaking of dining, you'll want to make your dining reservations as far ahead of your vacation as possible. A table service meal will give you a chance to relax and temporarily escape the crowds. If you're visiting during peak season, consider making a reservation for at least 1 table service meal per day. This will remove the stress of trying to figure out food while navigating crowded quick service restaurants. If you're visiting during one of the most crowded times of the year, Even more people than usual will be trying to get reservations for the most popular restaurants. So make your reservations as early as possible, which is currently 60 days out, but can be a little longer depending on your hotel reservation. You'll want to check out my video on the ins and outs of advanced dining reservations, or check out the in-depth guide to reservations on guidetowdw.com for all the tips and tricks for securing reservations at Disney World. Okay, we're halfway through. If you've gotten this far in this video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, stay tuned because the next tip has some pro-level Disney hacks. But third of all, consider hitting that subscribe button for more Disney World tips and advice. Number 5, mobile order the right way. The lines at counter service restaurants can be brutal. Fortunately, mobile order can help. Unfortunately, most people use mobile order the wrong way. The long lines for these eateries are a huge pain point for guests during the busy season, and that hurts even more when you're waiting in an endless line for lunch and your family is already hungry. Avoid all of this by using mobile order the right way. Here are a couple of techniques that I use to make sure that mobile order is actually a time saver. Number 1, plan ahead. If you wait until you're hungry to place a mobile order, you might be facing a giant virtual wait for your food. This won't do you any good, and you're probably better off just getting in the regular line at that point. Figure out your lunch or dinner order early in the day, and then check the app to see what time slots are available. 2, use the I'm Here hack. The arrival windows for mobile order are really wide, so they won't start preparing your meal until you actually arrive at the restaurant. But if the restaurant is really busy, that can take a while and kind of defeats the whole purpose of mobile order. Here's a trick that I use. As soon as I start heading to the restaurant, I hit the I'm Here button in the app. That way they start preparing my order as I'm walking to the restaurant. Typically by the time that I arrive, I only have to wait a couple of minutes before the food comes out. This saves some time, and that really adds up over the course of a vacation. And it's a must for navigating Disney World at its most crowded. 6, take a break at your resort. Here's a way to deal with the heavy crowds at Disney World. Avoid them altogether. A great way to follow the early-late rule that I mentioned earlier is to go back to your resort during the busy afternoon. This can be a great way to relax and recharge before heading back into the parks later in the day when the crowds thin out. While at your resort, you can take a swim, enjoy a meal, or simply take a nap to rest up for the rest of your day. Sometimes less is more at Disney World. Look, I love those marathon days where I try to jam in 20 rides in 4 parks, but if I'm really being honest, I have the most fun at Disney World when I actually take some time to relax, like it's vacation or something. The only drawback to this plan is that parks can hit capacity on certain days, such as Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. This is usually a concern at Magic Kingdom. Just keep that in mind as you make your plans. Number 7, consider buying Genie Plus in individual Lightning Lane. I bet you were wondering when Genie Plus would make an appearance. It's a way to pay to skip the regular line, so of course it should be included in a list of ways to deal with crowds. But it is a double-edged sword when it's crowded. And no, not because of the price. Well, not only the price. If your budget allows for it, Genie Plus can definitely be worth a purchase, as it can save you from some massive lines on rides like Tower of Terror, Space Mountain, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. If you know the ins and the outs of the system, it can be a great way to navigate Disney World when it's crowded. But here's the double-edged sword part of it. In theory, Genie Plus is most useful when the parks are their most crowded. It almost feels like a requirement. But when it's at its most crowded, Genie Plus will also be its most expensive and has a good chance of selling out for the day. And Lightning Lane slots are limited. So bigger crowds mean more competition for those slots, which means that there's a lower chance of getting a Lightning Lane for the most popular rides. On these days, you may end up paying more for Genie while getting fewer rides and saving less time out of it. It still might be worth it though when there are big crowds. Look, I have mixed feelings on Genie to say the least. I have gotten comments from viewers who went on really crowded days and got a ton done by using Genie. And I've had similar experiences myself. But you have to know the system really well, which is why I have a ton of Genie and Lightning Lane tips on guidetowdw.com. Do a bit of homework and Genie Plus can grant your wish for a price. And if you think I should make videos with some Genie Plus advice, let me know in the comments. Number 8, use line minimizing tricks. Remember all the way back at the beginning of the video when I said there was a way to get into a shorter line for free? Believe it or not, there are free ways to minimize your wait time. One great solution for parties who don't mind getting split up for a few minutes is going on a ride with Single Rider. This line is available at some really popular attractions: Rock and Roller Coaster, Millennium Falcon, Test Track, and Expedition Everest. What's the catch? You wait in a shorter line in exchange from being separated from the rest of your party and filling empty seats. Families with small children should also be aware of rider switch. Let's say multiple members of your party want to go on a ride with a height limit, but your youngest is too small or too frightened to ride. Rider switch is a way for everyone who wants to go on the ride to be able to go on without having to do the regular line twice. I have a video where I explain how it works in under 2 minutes, which you can watch here. No matter what the crowds are like, I hope you're able to have a great time on your vacation. This has been James from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon.